There are certain truths in this world that can't be explained. They must be felt. And they only reveal themselves when you're finally ready to remember who you are. If you're here right now, it's not by accident. Something drew you in, didn't it? A quiet inner voice that's been whispering your whole life. You're not like the rest. Even when you tried to fit in, something never fully aligned. Even in crowded rooms, you felt alone, not out of isolation, but because you were set apart. And deep down, you've always sensed it. That you're walking a path most people can't see. That you're carrying something sacred, something weighty, a signature, a frequency, a light. You've been told you're too sensitive, too deep, too different. But what if those were never flaws? What if they were marks, spiritual marks, that prove you've been chosen from the very beginning? Because you have. And in the next few moments, you're going to discover exactly what these 3 marks are and why the world responds to you the way it does. If something inside of you is already stirring, if your spirit feels like it's remembering something important, then comment 999 below. That number is not just a signal, it's a confirmation that you are ready to receive what's been waiting for you all along. Let's begin. The first mark is already calling your name. 1. You sense what others can't see. You've always felt something was different about you. Even when you were surrounded by others, a part of you remained untouched by the noise. You walked into rooms and sensed something before anyone said a word. You've picked up on tension, unspoken truth, even danger without explanation. You may have questioned it at first, called it anxiety, doubted yourself because others didn't feel what you felt. But what if that deep perception was never a flaw? It was a spiritual mark. This is not ordinary sensitivity. This is discernment, a divine awareness placed in the hearts of God's chosen ones. It's not something you were taught. It's something you carried from the beginning. The moment you stopped dismissing it as imagination and started honoring it as intuition, things began to change. This perception is not emotional overreaction, it's spiritual foresight, and you have it. Chosen ones often feel the shift in a room long before anyone else. You can walk by someone and feel that their energy is not aligned. You pick up on subtle truths. You sense undercurrents no one else is willing to name. It's lonely sometimes. People may accuse you of being too intense. But the truth is, you're simply awake in a world that teaches people to stay asleep. And perhaps that's why your spirit doesn't settle in places where deception hides. You are not just sensing danger. You're called to expose it. You're not just feeling what others miss. You are aligned with something they've forgotten. This is the first mark, and it means you're not meant to follow the crowd. You're meant to move with God. 2. The innocent are drawn to your presence. Children notice you. Animals settle beside you. Strangers pause in your presence as if comforted by something they can't name. This isn't charm. This isn't coincidence. This is the second spiritual mark. The purity within you speaks before you do. Unlike adults, children and animals are untrained in deception. They don't respond to titles, wealth, or appearance. They respond to energy, raw, true, and unfiltered. And when they gravitate toward you, it's not just because you're friendly. It's because your presence reflects the divine. Jesus said, "Let the little children come to me, for the kingdom of heaven belongs to such as these." Matthew 19:14. The children weren't taught to trust him, they simply knew. His energy was love, his frequency was peace, his presence was safe. When you carry the mark of God's favor, the purest beings on earth respond to it without hesitation. You may not realize how often people open up to you without knowing why, or how your silence changes a room more than someone else's speech. Your presence disarms because it carries peace, and peace is the language of heaven. This is why the innocent are drawn to you. You emit what the world is missing, truth without performance, light without noise, safety without conditions. And while others may not always recognize what you carry, the ones with pure hearts always will. That's the second mark. It confirms who you are, even when the world forgets. 3. Your thoughts become reality. This final mark, the one many never recognize, is the power of your mind. You don't just think, you manifest. You envision things and they begin to happen. You've spoken words in passing only to see them materialize. You visualized possibilities that became reality before you had a chance to explain how. This is not chance, it's not luck, it's alignment. As one of God's chosen ones, your mind is not ordinary. It is a sacred tool, a creative force connected directly to the source. And when you think with intention, when you believe with clarity, the universe, the Spirit of God, moves in sync with you. But this isn't a game. This power requires stewardship. Think of Joseph, sold into slavery, forgotten in prison, but never without vision. Long before he wore a crown, Joseph carried a dream so powerful that it offended others. His brothers called him arrogant, but Joseph didn't give up on what he saw. In the quiet of isolation, he nurtured that vision. And in time, it saved not just himself, but an entire nation. Genesis 41 shows the power of a chosen one's mind. When aligned with God, vision becomes provision. Now let's look at a real-world echo of this truth. Tyler Perry, a filmmaker and entrepreneur, once lived in his car. He was broke, rejected, and invisible to the world. But in the shadows, he wrote, he imagined, he planted spiritual seeds. "I didn't know I was writing my future," he said once. But he was. Today he owns one of the largest film studios in the world, not because he chased power, but because he believed in what he saw before others could. His story is not about fame, it's about frequency. He aligned his thoughts with purpose, and the universe responded. So ask yourself, how many things have you thought, good or bad, that later came true? How many images have you replayed in your mind only to watch them manifest in your life? This is no accident. Your thoughts are not whispers, they are blueprints. What you think, consistently and emotionally, builds your world. The Bible says in Proverbs 23:7, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." This isn't metaphor, it's law, spiritual law. Your mind is not just a processor, it's a transmitter. Every focused thought is a message sent into the field of creation. And what you send, you begin to attract. So what are you sending? What are you imagining when no one's watching? Because your thoughts aren't just private reflections, they are active prayers, they are living frequencies. And God, who placed this power within you, is waiting for you to realize. This final mark is your invitation to co-create your destiny. Now that you've seen these 3 spiritual marks, your divine discernment, your healing frequency, and your creative authority, what will you do with them? Because this was never just about knowing. It was about remembering, awakening, stepping into alignment with the truth that's been alive inside you all along. You're not here by chance. You were sent, you were marked, you were chosen. And while others may still be asleep to who they are, you are being called to walk differently now. To no longer second-guess the knowing in your spirit, to stop shrinking to fit into rooms your soul has outgrown. These marks were never meant to make you fit in. They were given to help you stand out. You've always felt the shift. Now you finally have language for it. You've always carried the light. Now you know why some are drawn to you and why others resist you. You're not imagining your power. You're simply waking up to it. So here's the final question. Will you fully own who you are? Will you walk in these marks with humility, boldness, and purpose? If your spirit says yes, if something deep inside of you knows this was meant for you, then let the world know. Comment 999 below, not for attention, but as a declaration. You are one of the chosen, and now that you know, nothing will ever be the same again.